Chris Chambers is joining the show today to discuss all things Stars hockey. And yes, that includes Dallas and Texas. Is Neil Graham ready to make the jump? And plenty more on today's episode of Locked On Stars.
You're Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans. I'm Joey Erickson, former producer of 105 Through the Fan. Please be sure to subscribe. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. And as always, thank you so much for making us a part of your day and making us your first listen. Today, I enlisted one of the Chambers brothers to help me out, and this time it's Chris. I believe the first time he's been on Locked On Stars, at least with me, and we're happy to have him. He was a first-year staff writer with 100DegreeHockey and, of course, a co-host of Starcastic Remarks as well. Chris, thank you so much for joining the show. How you doing, pal?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm doing good. It's been a slow offseason. Not much for us to talk about, right?
Yeah, exactly. The Stars are always dropping bombshells, it feels like, at perfect times to keep us media people chomping on something for the next few weeks. So it'll be rather interesting. But first, before I get into the nitty-gritty, I just want to hear about your experience with 100DegreeHockey this past season. You were covering the Texas Stars. Unfortunately, their season came to an end last night. But what was that whole experience like for you as your first year in Cedar Park?
Yeah, it was awesome. It was first kind of actual hockey media experience. Yeah. Got to go to all the games. They feed you really good at the Texas Stars games. I think the last game I was at, they gave us like prime ribs, so they do great with that. That pays for it. But being able to be in the press box and actually take a bird's eye view and actually kind of digest what's going on was great. And found out I really liked writing about hockey too. So I got a lot of good articles up there. We'll have some exciting exit interviews, I'm sure, especially with Neil Graham. So there'll be more stuff coming on 100DegreeHockey.
Awesome. Well, I'll tell you, if you come down to Corpus Christi, you're not getting that sort of treatment with media meals. So I apologize for that. But I heard back in the day they used to have a really good media meal, but that's not the case anymore, unfortunately. But I guess we'll start it off with, of course, the hot topic in Pete DeBoer being fired last week. Were you shocked, surprised by any of it? How did you process what took place last week?
Yeah, I'd say surprised is the right word. It's not shocked because Pete DeBoer kind of set himself up with his post-game comments after Game 5. Like, I didn't think that was really on the table. Like, of course, a little bit. You lose in the same spot 3 years in a row. But when you throw your franchise goalie under the bus who's already signed for 8 years, like, we know who's going to win that battle.
Yeah. Were you on the hype train to fire DeBoer immediately following the series elimination? I'm curious where you landed on that, because I was not one to want to get rid of DeBoer. He's had one of the best runs really in Dallas Stars history, with outside of a cup, of course, here in Dallas. And I said it, you're going to have to find a good replacement. But, as we got further removed from the series, the writing was on the wall. And the Otter comments weren't great, but I think his biggest mistake in a lot of ways was not ever talking to him pre-exit interview. I just thought that was a massive mistake and a bit weird. And I know Jim Nill mentioned that was a bit unfair. I don't know if it really is. I mean, you feel like you have to talk to your goaltender after that situation. But where did you land on DeBoer right after? Were you on the fence to get him out of here, as many Stars fans were?
Yeah, I wasn't on that train. Even after Game 5 was initially over, I didn't think that was going to be the solution that solves all problems.
Yeah.
But looking back on it, it makes more and more sense. So, I mean, he's going to go into the last year of his contract, and a coach that has had that much success, if you don't extend him, then it puts him in a weird spot. And that was the explanation a lot of people have given for like how Lindy Ruff's tenure at the Stars went, how he went into the last year of a contract with no extension despite having that great year in 2016, and how he wasn't the same in that final contract year, and it cost the Stars a season pretty much. And when the Stars have an open window like they do right now, you can't waste a season that same way. So it was either, I think the real decision that Nill and Ghilardi had was, do you re-sign DeBoer for more term, or do you get a new coach? And that's how they made that decision.
And we never really heard any hints or rumors about those conversations ever happening earlier in the season, right? So I think then you add on the comments with Otter and everything. It just was a bad situation, and it feels like maybe there was some trust loss, and maybe there was a little bit of that. He lost the room, so to speak. So I thought it was the right decision when they made it. It was not something I was clamoring for, but of course, as some more rumors and rumblings came out, it felt like the right decision for Jim. So we'll see how it all takes place.
And it really came down to how he performed in the playoffs too, right?
Yeah.
So if he won a Stanley Cup, absolutely he's getting a contract extension. So it made sense that there wasn't discussions before that, because when you're a team that has such high expectations like Dallas does, it really, the main thing that matters is playoff performance.
And Nill mentioned it too. They have to be really careful about where they go here, because you can really take a large step back. You mentioned that a few times. Like, they want to be careful, because you can end up with a Vancouver situation like this past season, and they had a huge jump the year previous, and then they just completely faltered. Their coach is gone. They got rid of JT Miller. It looks like Pettersson may be up. Like, there's a whole lot of chaos going on there. So they have to be careful about where they go to next. Now, this is just a very general question. You can kind of take this wherever you want to, but what was their ultimate demise, maybe in a lot of ways, from your perspective for the Stars this season? Where did it go wrong against the Oilers once again?
Well, I mean, it turned out to be the same kind of thing as last year. It was almost a repeat series. I mean, your depth scoring dried up, and it's going to be argued about why it dried up. I mean, the defense from the Stars, obviously the hole on the right side seemed like that got attacked, especially CC on the forecheck. He was having a lot of trouble getting out of the zone and all that. So I think that's where they're going to look to add, and to especially work on the puck transition game, because I think that's what they're going to target as the reason why the offense is continually drying up when they get that deep, is that their defensemen aren't able to keep up and aren't able to move the puck out of their own end. So I think that's going to be the main target, but it's kind of frustrating too, because like, they got the players, they got the guys who can score, and it just seems like it's just drying up at the wrong time 2 years in a row.
Yeah, and it's also really hard to find quality talent on that right side at a decent price, and they overpaid for Dumba and Lyubushkin a few years ago, or I guess just last summer. And I think a lot of us had those thoughts immediately when they made those signings, and they really reared their ugly head in this series against Edmonton, where Lyubushkin and Dumba were watching from the press box. That's just not good to be paying them combined $7 million. And that's the production you're getting out of them. So now they have to try to retool, right? And that may come via trade, but it does feel just like the obvious choice. It feels like we've been talking about this for 3 or 4 years now. Like, can they really go after that right side of the defense and find some puck moving defensemen? I made this point following the Edmonton series just because it felt so different in a lot of ways, because look at what Edmonton did and look what the Stars did. They went out and got Wallman and Klingberg, who have been rather productive for them. And the Stars got Lyubushkin and Dumba, and they added CC. And look, some of that was out of necessity. I don't necessarily blame them for making those signings. They needed somebody to chew up minutes, but there's some quality versus quantity differences. And you could see just the way Edmonton was playing. And I think watching the series, the Stanley Cup final, they're just in a different class than Dallas was.
Yeah, right. I mean, it looks like they just made the wrong choice with who they got at defense. And I mean, it's just a mistake, I think, ultimately. And maybe it's scouting. Maybe it was, hey, that's just what they could afford with what they were looking at. And for CC, it's like, that was the easy one. I mean, they wanted Granlund. That was very obviously a guy that was a target. And hey, CC's right there. He plays right defense. He eats minutes. Let's throw him in the deal too.
Yeah, and Miro went down, of course, so they had to just throw anybody they could get in there. Weirdly enough, Petrovic and Bichel did rather well for themselves, and you watched a lot of them this season. I guess, what'd you make out of Bichel's season, the AHL? I said it, I think, at the beginning of the year. If he comes up in like January, December-ish, like, that's a really good thing for Dallas, and that's sort of when he came up. And I thought he made a great impact in Dallas, and obviously made some huge strides this season. And Petrovic, he's Petrovic at this point as a veteran hockey player. But what'd you make of the season Bichel had?
Yeah, that's a great preseason call by you. I mean, that would have been his perfect year in the AHL. Was he starts strong in Texas, plays really well, earns the call up, and then becomes a big part of the playoff push. That's exactly what he did. I mean, pretty much as far as Bischel goes, that's a perfect year. And he got better and better every game he played. I think he was starting to kind of stall out a little bit in Texas when he got called up. And then as soon as he started playing NHL games, I thought he improved more and more each time he played those as well. So I really think that was the perfect development year that Bischel could have done.
Yeah, I think it's going to help him in the long run too. He got some heavy minutes under his belt and played against some of the best in the world. And yeah, he had some rookie moments, of course, as you would expect. But I think all things positive, and that's a good sign. And he can help you out at a cheap price on that right side too, moving forward.
And it'll be interesting moving forward to see how much better he actually gets. I think right now we're all kind of still projecting, hey, Bischel's probably your bottom pair lefty guy. Yeah. But if he becomes better and better next year, I mean, we've seen Lindell swap to the right side when he played with Team Finland for the Four Nations. Maybe it's an option to have Bischel Lindell as your second pair. And if Bischel's actually playing up to that caliber, that doesn't look too bad, honestly.
Yeah, that would be rather juicy. That even gets my jollies a bit, Chris, saying that, just thinking about it, man. If he's, I mean, because look, he's not this player yet, but he's like the size of Victor Hedman. You're like watching, you're like, oh my God, like this guy could be like a true dominant number one force.
And you see the kind of defender he can be with that kind of size and that kind of skating. I mean, the sky's the limit for him.
It really is. It really is. Okay. I got to talk about Neil Graham a bit, since you got to chat with him throughout the year. And I want to ask you where you think the Stars should go in terms of their next head coach. So we'll get Chris's thoughts in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by Indeed. You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job posting on other sites. Indeed sponsored jobs put your post at the top of the page and help you reach the right candidates faster. Sometimes you're in a spot where you need to hire like yesterday. The pressure's on. Every day without the right person is a setback. Sponsored jobs comes in handy with Indeed. It makes your post seen so you can find the right candidates right now. Now you can speed up the hiring process as well with a $75 sponsored job credit. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now. Support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring Indeed is all you need. Okay, Chris, Neil Graham, I think, has been a name that has been thrown out there quite a bit for the potential Dallas Stars next head coach. So I wanted to ask you, you're around him this past season. I guess, what is your overall impression of Neil Graham? How would you describe him as a head coach? And do you think possibly he is ready to make that jump to the next level?
Yeah, well, first of all, he's a great guy. He's been super cool to work with. I mean, like you mentioned earlier, this is my first year doing any kind of hockey media stuff, and he was very kind to me, I will say, because I'm sure I said some pretty stupid stuff while I was talking to him. So he was great. Yeah, I think he really could be ready for that next step, and part of the reason is why Dallas needs to look hard at him is if you don't kind of give him this spot now, you might lose this guy who you've been developing for so long. So he started his coaching career pretty young as a player coach down in the ECHL with the Steelheads, and pretty immediately flipped from player coach to just coach. And he did great with that team. I think he was head coach of the Steelheads for about 6 years before being promoted to the AHL, where he was an assistant coach for just a few weeks, and before he got promoted to head coach after some coaching shuffling that happened. And he's been with Texas for about 6 years as well. So he's been with this organization. This is the only kind of coaching he's done with this organization. And he's really has a commitment to what kind of Jim Nill does. He has a commitment to building from the inside, which is something that Stars organization does in general with everybody. They do that. I mean, Brian Ray's a guy, the broadcaster he started in Texas. PR people for the Dallas Stars get their feet wet in Texas. So it just kind of makes sense. Hey, let's bring a guy up who we've had eyes on for 12 years that kind of been training to be the next Stars head coach. That's what the thought has been of Neil Graham. So this kind of just makes sense for him to take that next step now. The only scary part is, hey, this is the Stanley Cup team. Like, if the Stars team was just fighting for a playoff spot, I think you'd have no problem giving him the team and seeing what he can do. That's kind of what happened with Jim Montgomery, right? I mean, it's a guy who wasn't proven in the NHL, but we've got a good team here that should be better than it's playing. Let's give this new guy a shot. But when you got a championship team, it's just a little bit scarier to try and do that.
Yeah, and Nill mentioned that sometimes you got to have a guy that knows where he's going when he's at away arenas, just so when players are watching, like they know that he has some confidence and he understands what he's doing as well. But Nill also had a lot of praise for Neil Graham, which made I think a lot of people's ears perk up a bit and can be like, okay, like this could be a real option. And this is your firsthand experience around the team, I guess. What's the secret sauce behind Neil Graham, you think? Obviously, the Texas Stars have won a lot of games recently. They just had another deep playoff run. What is maybe the secret sauce behind what he does?
Yeah, it's not too dissimilar of a style from what Dallas does. It's a little different in some ways, though. So it's not copycat the way a lot of AHL teams are. So one, for instance, is the power play. The Texas Stars really stuck to a spread power play as opposed to Dallas, who did the 1-3-1 pretty consistently throughout the year. The entries into the zone for the power play, the second unit, sometimes the first unit, it changed every now and then. But Antonio Stranges would be a guy who would cycle back and use his crazy cool skating that he does to enter the zone. And then the defense it was a little bit tighter. So your defenders want to stay closer to the net in the Texas Stars system as opposed to the Dallas system, which is a little bit more aggressive. So there's little things here and there, but it is still a similar style. He wants to get up the ice. He'll send guys out of the zone just like Dallas did. He's got set plays where Blumel will blow the zone immediately after a one face-off. So a lot of similarities, but there are some key differences too. One other thing to note is he's a very secretive guy. I mean, if you ask him about anything, he gives you nothing. If you ask him if it was a set play, he'll never tell you.
Well, then he's perfect for the NHL. Then he's perfect.
Right.
Injuries,
the NHL will love him.
yeah. He's got to keep everything close to the vest. So we're going to talk a bit more about the Texas Stars season. So do not worry. We'll get to some more of that in the next season. Get some Chris's thoughts on some certain individuals and not. But is there anybody you're slamming on the table for the Stars to maybe go out and try to get as a head coach? I know there's a name I haven't really thought about, but I recently just read his name on Twitter, but Alain Nasreddine feels like that could be a possibility, assistant coach that I think Nill wants to keep all the assistant coaches around. But is there maybe somebody out there that you're slamming on the table for, or you just maybe kind of looking at each tree branch and seeing which one you like best?
Right. It's kind of interesting. I mean, I think Kalashuk came out with an article that said that they're not looking to do a retread, which was the exact wording, which is a little bit interesting. Like, what exactly is a retread in their opinion? Yeah. So I don't really know what that means. I still put Neil Graham as my number one. If you want a new voice, he has all the connections with a bunch of those core players. Yeah. I mean, it just makes sense. Someone else would be like Steve Ott, who's a guy who's been in the NHL for a while. He knows where the back door is to the arenas. He'll get in fine. And obviously he has that tenure with the Stars and fans love him. So he'll be a fan favorite for sure. And he has that little bit of grittiness and nastiness that I think Stars fans are also looking for too. And maybe management is looking for, but he's still a new guy. I mean, he hasn't been coaching for 40 years like some of these cup winners that are available have. So if they're truly looking for fresh voices, those are the two that I really throw out there as my top two.
Yeah, and the more I've broke it down, I sort of came to this realization yesterday, almost in the middle of my episode. I didn't really plan to go this way, but I was just thinking, well, you just got rid of DeBoer, and I know there was some other circumstances that led to that because of maybe some of the comments with Otter and everything. Maybe he lost the room, and I get that, but if you were going to get rid of a guy that has proven he can win, like we know he can win and be successful. Yeah, you didn't get a cup for it, but very, very successful. Are you really going to go out and get a similar coach, right? Like a guy that's, been around the block for as long as he's had, right? And has won a lot of games and maybe even has a cup. But are you going to go back to that? It just felt like making this decision, it feels like if I'm Jim, like if I'm trying to get in his head, he's thinking, well, let's go back to when I hired Monty, right? Like that type of a hire. And it also, I think it also stuck out that Jim Montgomery really wishes, or Jim Nill really wishes Jim Montgomery was still the head coach of the Dallas
Absolutely.
Stars. I do as well. I loved him, and I know there was other circumstances, but I think Nill wishes that didn't happen, because I think it would be safe to say he'd probably still be the head coach, and he wouldn't have to be going through this head coach process again. But I was just curious your thoughts on a few things, because there's not anybody that I'm like, all right, the Stars have to get this guy, and that's what makes it almost scary a bit.
Right.
For Dallas is the only team without a head coach right now. Like, who do you go back, or who do you go out and get? And that's why it feels like an internal hire may be just the best option.
Yeah, and there are still some proven coaches available, like Gallant and Laviolette. But when they say things like they don't want to retread, I mean, that feels like the same kind of thing. It's a veteran guy who's won before. I think Pete is the same. Like you said, I know he hasn't won the Cup. He's won everything else. So that feels very similar to me, both of those guys. So if it's truly a fresh face, I think it should be actually fresh.
Yeah, no, I certainly concur. Let's pick Chris's brain on the Texas Stars season. I want to hear his thoughts on some individuals, what went on this past season, since he knows better than everybody. So we'll do that in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by Game Time. There's nothing like playoff hockey, the energy, the rivalries, the nonstop action. The Stanley Cup playoffs are heating up. Well, the Stanley Cup final is heating up. There's never been a better time to see it live, and Game Time makes getting in the building fast and affordable. Game Time gives you last-minute ticket deals, zone deals for deep discounts, panoramic seat views, and all-in pricing with no hidden fees. Plus, ticket prices often drop closer you get to puck drop, so you can score big without overpaying. And Game Time is awesome because it's not just for the Stanley Cup final. You can get it for the MLB. You got the Texas Rangers, comedy, theater, you name it, Game Time has it. And yes, you can see the view from your seat before you buy it, so you don't have to worry about going to a new arena, a new ballpark, and you get a pull in the way. We've all been there, and you're like, I wouldn't have bought these seats if I had known that. Well, that's where Game Time comes into play. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKED OWN NHL for $20 off. Download Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. So I did a bit of a Texas Stars update, I want to say last week, and I don't watch the Texas Stars every single day. I think that's well documented, but I like to try to keep up with them, what's going on down there. But I was taking a look at the point leaders in the Calder Cup playoffs, and I'm like, my goodness, you got 4 of the 5 top scorers, really 6 of the top 7 are with the Texas Stars. And of course, unfortunately, their season came to an end yesterday, but they gave the Canucks everything they could handle for the most part. But what'd you make of their run? And it just seems like Texas was pretty loaded, man. They could score a lot of goals, and it feels like, man, they should be going to the finals when you look at the point totals.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great season for Texas, especially when you look at what happened in the offseason. They lose their 2 best players and 2 of the best players in the AHL to promotion. I mean, yes. And that's credit to Neil Graham for developing those guys so well. So you're already looking at a tough next season when you lose guys like that, and he just responds with immediately getting right back where they were. I mean, the 2 things they always talk about, or that Neil Graham always talks about, is his job is developing players first, and the second one is winning. And so developing players, Justin Ritzkovian was AHL Rookie of the Year, absolutely fantastic, was your first line center the entirety of the playoff run, and was your leading scorer for the playoff run, was tied for the lead in the entire playoffs before the Calder Cup final began. So he had a fantastic regular season, and then he backed it up by proving that he can do it in the playoffs. Another guy that was awesome for development was Trey Taylor at the end. Guy just came out of the NCAA and immediately thrown on the second power play unit, gets big minutes in the playoffs right out of the NCAA. And next season, he could be a huge add. That's really, if you want a next defender for Dallas that might be coming up, I mean, Trey Taylor's probably your guy. All
right. Good insight there. Was he from Clarkson, or am I mistaken on that?
I can't remember where he's from.
I'm gonna have to do it right now. Otherwise, I'm gonna be thinking about it the whole time. So
yeah, but he had a really fantastic, entry. I mean, immediately thrown on the power play unit. His skating is super good. His vision for where the play should go on power play is really fantastic.
Okay, so he was Clarkson. Yeah, 29 points in 39 games with Clarkson. So you would describe him more of an offensive guy? Like, okay, cool. Well, that's certainly a name Stars fans to keep your name out of, or to keep a lookout for. Now, from a bit of a Stars perspective, since it feels like Dallas is going to have to find some younger, cheap talent, maybe up front, and one name you mentioned was Justin Ritzkovian. That's a guy that I feel like maybe next year he could be having a pretty solid role with Dallas. Is there another name that you think may be making the jump up next year, whether that's a Matej Blumel possibly, or even Arttu Uru, who had a cup of coffee with the Stars this season? But anybody you have your eye on to maybe make the jump next year, since Dallas is going to need some talent to help out with this cap situation they got going on?
Yeah, both of those guys, you hit the nail on the head. Matej Blumel, obviously, great year. He was the point leader in the AHL, the entire AHL. He had a great year last year and somehow improved on it. And he even developed, his one-timer is absolutely fantastic now. His last 3 goals that he scored for the Stars all came on the one-timer. It is a weapon now. He improved defensively immensely. He's a big part of the Stars PK now. He's great at winning draws. He has really improved even on his great season last year. So that's definitely a guy that you're looking at if you want to fill a cheap spot. He can do the 4th line role. He can do those PK minutes. He can be a checker, but he has tons of offensive potential as well. And then Huru is the other guy as well. He really impressed DeBoer during training camp last year, especially. The big thing he has over both Blumel and Ritzkovian is his size. I think he's up to 6'4". So he's got a little bit of meat on the bone, maybe a little bit less skill offensively. But if you're looking for like just a true grinding 4th liner, you might lean that way just for the size. He's also been fantastic on faceoffs this year for Texas. He would hop on in the defensive zone, win a draw, and immediately hop off. That's the kind of faceoff guy he was.
Some other individuals that had really good playoff runs, or I guess some of your free agents that came over from Coachella Valley. You had Cole Lynn and Cameron Hughes. Tell me a bit more about those two, because they seem to have a lot of success, and they're more of your veterans, I guess, that kind of came in. And those are guys you need at the HL level to help you win a bit, or to win a bit more. But it feels like maybe they can get a sniff, maybe even possibly next season too.
Right. That's kind of the second part of Neil Graham's initiative. That's the winning part. And that's where the Stars organization buys in. They didn't have to go out and get guys like Lyndon Hughes. The likelihood that they were going to make the NHL was very low. And that was proven by seeing the guys that did get called up. It wasn't Lyndon Hughes. It was guys that might potentially make the roster this upcoming season. But Lyndon Hughes were great leaders on the team. They love playing playoff hockey. The physicality that they had, what y'all were all barking for Dallas to do, those guys brought it day in, day out. So, and the fact that they elevated their play in the playoffs too, they weren't the top point scorers for the Stars during the regular season. They were up there, but they weren't 2 and 3. And postseason, they went to a whole nother level. But that's part of the importance. And winning helps you develop your players too. When your prospects have that expectation that we're going into every game to win. It's not okay to lose. That makes them better. It sharpens them. It gets their mindset right for when they do get that call up that, hey, you need to be on 100% of the time because we're going out to win every single day. So it all just kind of cycles on itself. And those two guys are just, they show the commitment that the organization has to developing talent from within.
Well, we all know the Dallas Stars have a lot of interesting decisions to make this offseason. From a Texas Stars perspective, is there anything like huge that's knocking on the door? Maybe any necessary decisions that are upcoming this summer that they have to make and try to make another run back to the Calder Cup final next season?
Defense will be interesting. I mentioned Trey Taylor. That's definitely a guy who you're looking at being a big part of it. But if Petrovic does go up to the NHL and is a part of that rotation, it's going to be difficult for Texas to overcome. The fact they were able to take care of business against Milwaukee with a depleted D-core is really just a testament to that team and the coaching staff to get around that while being depleted. I mean,
Yeah.
it's really impressive. And if they're depleted again next year, I mean, they might need a little bit more help. Maybe it comes from some more free agent signings. Maybe it comes from Bertucci down in juniors, but we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, I think it's a testament to Petrovic a bit as well. It sounded like he really wanted to get back down there and play. And I mean, after such a grueling series, just a grueling playoff run in the NHL, like he wanted to go back and try to help his team out. And they did their best Stars version of going down 3-1 in the final, but they made it pretty interesting there of late against the Canucks.
Yeah, that's a testament to Petrovic as a person too. I mean, to go through that grueling emotional run that he did, he was way more a part of it this year than he was last year with Dallas, where he got like less than 10 minutes every day. He was a big part, making big hits, big plays all over the ice. Arguably could have been the Stars' best pair if you just trust analytics. But the fact that he wanted to come back and felt the need to come back to this team shows the kind of leader he is and the kind of person he is. I mean, that's awesome. He didn't have to do that, and he went back for his guys. Super cool.
Yeah. Stars are creating some good culture, right? That's what it's all about. Culture from the NHL to the NHL level. Winning hockey games, of course, helps you do that, and the Stars are doing that pretty well at both levels. Well, Chris, thank you so much for joining me today. It was a pleasure to have you on. Felt like this is a long time coming. I always enlist your brother's services, Ryan, but screw him today. I just kidding, love Ryan, but I was happy to have you on, man. Appreciate your insight. Congrats on your first year with 100 Degree Hockey. I hope if you get to do it again, you have another banger season next year. But thank you once again, man.
Yeah, we'll be back next year. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, be sure to check out Chris and his brothers at Starcastic Remarks. They have a blast. Tim, James, and Ryan are absolute hoot to be with. So be sure to check them out on social media as well. That's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Stars. Have a great rest of your Tuesday, Stars fans. We'll see you in the next episode. So long.